Sur la table, babe. That's a little bit of a mouthful. I'll do that. I can do that again. Hi everyone, I'm Meredith Abbott and welcome to Sur la table. Today I am going to be making a bourbon brown sugar glazed baby back rib. For this recipe, you'll need freshly ground black pepper, salt, onion, garlic, chili powder, granulated garlic, paprika, dried mustard, light brown sugar, bourbon, vegetable oil, crushed tomatoes, smoked dark brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, molasses, and baby back ribs. Let's get started. The first step is to prepare the dry rub. So, to a bowl, add your salt, light brown sugar, get all that in there, paprika, dry mustard, chili powder, granulated garlic, and your ground black pepper. Give it a whisk to combine, break up any lumps of the brown sugar. Great, now that that's mixed, I'm just gonna set it to the side. So I have 2 racks of pork baby back ribs. This side is all nice, ready to go, but if you flip your ribs over, you'll see that there's a shiny membrane. It's called silver skin, and we want to remove it. Choose one end. I'm gonna choose this end. Okay, fresh piece of paper towel or a clean kitchen towel. Grab onto that little piece. There we go. And pull back, just like so. See how super thin it is? That's all you want to get off. At this point, I'm going to be making mine in the oven today, so I'm gonna leave my racks whole. Now we're ready to season. So we're gonna start with the meat side first. Sprinkle it on pretty liberally with one hand, kind of rubbing it in with your other as you go. Flip it over, and now onto the second side. Make sure you even get the sides of the ribs too. Really get it all pressed in. And now that these are thoroughly coated, they're going to go into the refrigerator for minimum of 1 hour up to a day in advance. While I have my ribs in the refrigerator, I'm going to make my glaze. So to a saucepan, I'm gonna preheat it medium-high heat. I'm gonna add my oil. I'm gonna let that heat for just a moment until it gets nice and shimmery. Swirl it around. Once my oil is hot, I'm going to add my diced onion. Now I'm going to cook this while stirring occasionally. My onions have been sauteing for about 5 minutes. So to our onions, we're going to add garlic. And so it only needs to be in here with the onions and the oil for just a minute or so before we start adding all of the other ingredients. Garlic is now really nice and fragrant. It's been in this mix for about a minute. I'm gonna start adding the remaining ingredients. I'm starting with the apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna kind of pour over my spoon first because it's gonna sizzle and pop a little bit. Off the heat, I'm going to add in my bourbon. Just being overly cautious. With the alcohol, I didn't want it to ignite. It's a very hot pan. Molasses. It's very sticky, get as much of it as you can. The smoked brown sugar. If you don't have smoked brown sugar, you can find it at surlatable.com, but you can also just use dark brown sugar. Next is our crushed tomatoes. I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper because this is gonna cook and reduce down into a glaze and I don't want it to be overly salty. So just going to season a little bit now and then season more later. So a pinch maybe an 1/8 or 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and then a pinch of black pepper. Stir. This is already at a boil. Now I'm just going to reduce the heat a little bit, let it simmer until it's thickened into a glaze. Okay, I've had my sauce simmering for about 15 minutes. It's now at a nice glaze consistency. It's thickened. I've let it cool to room temperature, which took about 5 to 10 minutes. And now I'm going to blend it. I'm using a traditional blender. You can use an immersion blender if you have one at home. So carefully pour it in. You'll see the consistency of how thick it is now. That's what you're looking for. Scrape all those good bits into the blender. Since it is still a little warm, you always want to remember, if you have warm or hot liquids in your blender, vent the top, and then always make sure you start on low speed. So turn your blender on. There you go. We're just gonna go until it's smooth. Okay, we're at 30 seconds. And the glaze is now smooth. Just like so. And it's ready for us to use once our ribs come out of the oven. And now I'm going to preheat my oven to 325 degrees. My oven is preheated. My ribs have been in the refrigerator for about an hour. All that's left to do is cover with foil and pop them in. Cover it pretty tightly. You want some of that steam action. I'm using a rimmed baking sheet with a rack in it. You can use a baking dish, a roasting pan, whatever you have at home that fits your ribs. Covered tightly, now these are going into the oven. Okay, my ribs have been in the oven for about an hour and a half. Let's get them. Carefully remove the foil. Oh, nice. Okay, these are looking beautiful. The ribs are kind of poking out a little bit from the meat. I'm gonna carefully touch these. This is what you are looking for. See how they've started to kind of pull back? That's when you know they're ready to glaze. So now I'm going to increase the heat on my oven to 450 degrees. While I wait, I'm going to glaze my ribs. Taking a silicone basting brush, you're just gonna paint these pretty evenly with the glaze all over. It's going to start to caramelize. It's gonna get a little brown. It's really gonna do wonderful things to the flavor of these ribs. When my oven turns to 450 degrees, I'm gonna stick these back in. My oven is now preheated to 450 degrees, so I'm gonna put my ribs back in for about 5 minutes. Okay, I'll check on those in about 5 minutes and glaze them one more time. They look amazing. Holy moly. Okay, I've been patient. It's been 10 minutes. I am now ready to slice my ribs. So I just have my cutting board. I laid down some parchment. You want to cut in between the ribs. Get right in between them. So just right in between the bones. You can flip them up on their side. Sometimes that makes it easier, especially because there's a little bit of a curve to them. Look at that. They slice super easily. Okay, I've got both my racks of ribs cut up into single ribs. I'm serving them with some extra glaze on the side. Totally cooked, safe to eat, no worries. I love to eat my ribs with some homemade coleslaw. Perfect meal. Enjoy. For recipe videos, cooking classes, and more, visit surlatab.com.